Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, and in this video, as you can read by the title, I'm going to be talking about job interview tips and just questions and just how to handle job interviews as a college student. I know that some of you guys might be like getting into the work field in the first time, and honestly, as a 19-year-old college student, I've already had 6 part-time jobs now. So I've definitely dealt with a lot of interviews, and I have definitely passed on some opportunities when they called me back. Out of all the interviews that I've done, I would say a good amount of them call me back. That's because I usually use a lot of these tips that I am about to show you guys in this video. So before the video starts, I just want to let you guys know that these tips come from both my personal experiences and some tips online as well that I've researched and spent my time on. So any like or subscribe to this channel is greatly appreciated. You will see weekly videos, I could tell you that. And yeah, let's get started. So the first tip that I'm going to give you guys for a job interview is to come prepared and be ready to answer questions. This is actually one of the most important of all, because every time I drive to these interviews, I always think about it prior in the car. Like they're probably gonna ask me like, oh, tell me about yourself, or tell me about this, or what about your old work experience, or give me your leadership experience, strengths, weaknesses. Always keep that in mind, always keep that ready. And if you guys don't know any answers to those questions, don't worry, because I'll mention it later on in the video, so just stick around, right? Not only that, but it's also important to do some prior research to the company that you're applying in. So let's say you're working at a restaurant or in an office job or retail, so always just do your homework and do research on the company. Maybe like, what are they known for? What are they famous for? Or like maybe if you're going to a restaurant, their famous menu item, or to a retail store, maybe they're famous for their jeans or their t-shirts, or an office job, like what they specialize in. So tip number 2 is to get comfortable with the environment. So obviously, as you walk into the building, you don't want to just stand around and look awkward, like go to your phone. What I always do is usually I always actively search and I always actively look. So when I was applying to the restaurant that I was working in, I always look around, see how the servers are operating, see how the customers are reacting to their food, and if like how the servers are, how they work, what they say to the customers. It's always important to keep in mind of what and how things take place. This is very important because whenever you apply, maybe you applied online, it'll say like, oh, we are a fast-paced environment, or it'll say something, but when you come, it could be completely different. So it's important to look and actually see if it matches their description. And looking at a description online versus coming into the place in person is very, very different. So you shouldn't use that time to go on your phone, but instead you should use that time to look around and just see like how things are operating in the building, in the work environment. Tip number 3 is to build a good first impression. And this means that whoever's greeting you, you want to give them a firm handshake. You want to just give them a good smile, and you just want to be comfortable around them. You don't want to feel awkward, or you don't want to try not to feel nervous. Like even if it's your first job interview, you probably feel a little nervous, but I usually like to see my interviewers as my friend already. Like, by the time I meet them, like, hey, like, what's up? Like, you probably wouldn't say what's up, like, hey, like, how's it going? Pretend that they're just asking you questions. Like they're just a new friend trying to get to know you better, rather than just somebody, having a job at stake. It's much more, it's better on the mind to think that they're a friend rather than somebody that's actually interrogating you. And you also want to thank them for having you there. Like, thank you for your time. Thank you for having me here, obviously. And always be respectful. You don't want to come off the wrong way already in the very beginning. Like that's gonna be hella bad already, you know what I'm saying? So you just want to be respectful, you want to be polite. And on top of that, you want to dress nice as well. It's dress to impress. You don't want to come with like just a shirt and some shorts. You want to wear some business casual shirt, a button up, some khaki pants, and some, dress shoes are nice, or maybe just casual shoes. But you definitely want to show effort in the way you dress. And whenever I got hired, I always ask like my managers or people, whoever interviewed me, just like, hey, like, what was your first impression about me? And they're like, dude, like, I honestly had a really good first impression of you. And those things really matter. They actually do. So keep that in mind. Tip number 4, I would say, is to be confident with your answers. You really don't want to go like, oh, I think I'm blank, or I'm pretty sure blank. You don't want to say what I think or I'm pretty sure, because then you're not asserting confidence. Like you're not even sure in yourself. You don't want to, I think I'm a good candidate, or I'm pretty sure I'm a good candidate. You just want to say, I am a good candidate for this job because this. So you're confident in your answers. You look them straight in the eye. Very, very. You don't have to look mean or anything. Just straight in the eye, polite, give a good smile. Like, I think I'm a good candidate because I'm hardworking, I have experience in this industry already, and so on and so forth. And so here are some of the questions that are usually asked. The first one is a tell me about yourself question. It's very, very common. Honestly, it's like the number one. Like if you go to job interviews, like if the more you do it, the more it's just a typical question. You always want to talk about what you do now. So as I'm giving tips for a college student, I say, yeah, I'm a student. I go to this school and I'm studying, computer science or whatever your major is. And you talk about your past work experience, preferably relating to the industry. So I'd be like, oh yeah, I worked at a fast-paced restaurant before at this place. The third part of the tell me about yourself would probably be like, I look forward for my new job or my new role at this location because I'm interested in this and that. That's how I usually handle it. And then if they're curious to know more about why I'm interested or anything, they'll definitely ask later on. So just, you don't want to ramble on. You don't want to go like, oh yeah, like I do this, I drive this, my hobby is this. Like that's very, very unprofessional. You just want to keep it to what they really care. Cause obviously they're getting these interviews like coming in hot, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to waste their time like, oh, like I like to go bowling, I like to collect like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like nah, like cut all that, you know what I'm saying? And another common question to miss is the give me a weakness question. Like give me one of your weaknesses or two weaknesses. And honestly, the best way to handle this question for me, honestly, is to just answer straight up. Like a lot of people will try to cover it up like, oh yeah, I'm perfectionist, or oh yeah, sometimes I manage my time too well, or I'm a neat freak, or I'm a clean freak. Something like that would give them a good impression, kind of like, oh wow, like there's definitely a turnaround on this. If you're a neat freak, you're definitely gonna keep everything neat. Like interviewers could really see through that. So I usually just give them a straight up honest answer. Like some of the answers I give them is like, yeah, sometimes I get lazy, because I do get lazy. Like, yeah, when the work is slow, I get lazy, but then you always want to recover with the positive. So I go like, yeah, sometimes I do get lazy when things are slow, but when it picks up, like I really stand up and I do my work. I make sure everything gets done, all my job is completed. I'm on task, like I'm on it. Another good weakness answer that I usually answer is, sometimes I don't take things too seriously. Sometimes I like to joke around with my coworkers, and then sometimes it's the wrong time, but I always come back with the positive, always try to turn it around, that there's actually a way to like, make your weakness don't seem as bad. So I always go like, yeah, sometimes I'm not serious, sometimes I like to joke around a lot. But if a manager or if somebody were to tell me like, hey, like let's get back on it, I'll be right back on my feet, getting everything done and like focusing back on task. That's how I usually handle my job interview. Like if they ask me a weakness question, I always just straight up be honest and always find a way to like turn it into a positive and fix it. And like, it's not as bad, it's not like something you can't fix. The next step is going to be to bring your resume and make sure your resume has good stuff in it. You don't want a resume with just like your high school or like your college or whatever, and then that's it. You want to try to like list as much as you can, and try to impress with your resume. You want to, write your, whatever volunteer experience. Even this is your first job, volunteer experience, obviously education, high school, college, the languages that you speak. Maybe you're bilingual, trilingual. You want to put that in. Your teamwork skills, collaborative skills, software knowledge like Microsoft Word or any Google Drive. I don't know, whatever you want to put in. I put in Microsoft Word and Google Drive, and it's not a problem. You don't want to come with like just like a quarter sheet, like just only the top quarter of your resume filled out. You want the whole thing pretty much filled out, and try to keep it one page. Making it 2 page kind of a hassle. Just only try to highlight your best performance into 1 page. Make it short, simple and nice, and then yeah. And the last tip for today is obviously to ask a good question, or good questions. It doesn't always have to be one. In the end, they'll probably be like, oh, do you have any questions for me? Anything like that. You don't just want to leave. You can leave just without a question, like, oh no, I don't have any questions, like thank you for your time, of course. But to show that you're kind of more serious and you're actually like, like considering this is like, okay, like I'm starting to feel comfortable here now, like this is a good interview. Like you want to ask a good question. Sometimes they like it like two-sided, that they're asking all the questions. They want a question, asked back at them and they can answer. Common questions that I ask is usually, what's your favorite part of working here? Like why do you enjoy working here? I ask my interviewers that. Like sometimes it's not a bad question, but I usually only do that like here and there, just whenever like I just run out of questions in my mind. But there's also other questions like, how's a typical day of working here look like in my position? Like if I'm a server, like how are other servers here? Like what's their typical work environment, what's their typical work day like. I usually ask like, oh, like who will be my closest coworkers? You know, obviously if you work in the office, like, you know, maybe you have this department close to you, and then you won't be so close to this other department because they're not related to whatever your work you're doing or whatever work you're applying to. So obviously it's just like these curious questions that, you know, it'll be beneficial to you later on in the end anyways. So that's all I have for you guys today. Those tips are the interview tips, and hopefully they're helpful. I honestly use them all the time for my interviews, and I 95% of the time, again, land my job. And I'm not saying that to brag, obviously. I'm just saying that these tips that I'm telling you guys is actually working because I use them all the time. So hopefully with me sharing these tips for you guys could actually help you guys with your job interview. And a lot of my friends call me as like the job guy because apparently I've had a lot of jobs and left a lot of jobs, and it's true. But yeah, I have definitely. And yeah, a lot of my friends know me for, you know, having jobs here and there, and then they're like, how do you get the job? How do you get this job so quick? How do you get this job so quick? Honestly, it's the best part of job interviews is that you're not stuck to that job yet. So after a job interview, usually I just go to online, look for more jobs, and then just show up at another interview. Like, hey, like, are you free today? Like, you want to get an interview going? Like, okay, cool. Like, I've done like 2 to 3 interviews in a day, and then that's totally fine. So obviously you just keep doing it. I would say just try not to be lazy. I do enjoy my bed. I like sleeping on my bed, but I know I have to get my ass up and do some productive stuff sometimes. And if you guys are curious, currently I do not have a job. I just left my last job, but yeah, it's because of school reasons. I'm trying to focus more on schools, but tips are still accurate. They still work, and I wish you guys good luck if you guys are looking for a new job. You know, obviously if you're in high school, college, you want to get started in a working environment. Hopefully these tips could help you guys out. So if these tips do come in helpful, a like or a subscribe is going to be much appreciated. I did do my research on this video, and, you know, looked online on also some tips, and I compiled it to this video. So if you guys do enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave down your comment below, honestly, and any other tips that you want to add on to the comments. You know, maybe people could scroll down and take a look. So without further ado, that's going to be it for today, guys. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.